Hey guys, this is the final coffee talk as we sit down with Millennium's COO, Matt Scudder. In part 1 and 2, we discussed improving the current business and how to identify when it's time to grow. In part 3, we're going to talk a little bit about creating habits that lead to success in your business. So let's get started.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.
So after our chat a little bit about evaluating your business, what is one thing that salon owners and spa owners watching today can implement and take back with them to make sure that they're successful?
Well, I think at the end of the day, they need to do a lot of self-reflection and maybe put a stake in the ground and look at what their vision is, and are they embodying their vision, and how do they plan to embody their vision moving into the new year, right? Because that's really what it's about. I mean, being a leader is about embodying your vision and living out your values. So what are your values? What's essential and core to you, right? Empathy, honesty, transparency, whatever those are, I think it's always good to reflect and adjust if necessary.
So what would you say are 3 habits that you embody that kind of help you with success?
Well, I have 3. I like to think that even today, being with MSI over 20 years, there's 3 pillars of success or 3 pillars of leadership that I try to still adhere to, regardless of whatever my role is. And as the years go by, I like to think that those are kind of foundational in a sense. Number 1 is I'm just very honest. So brutally honest, but it's not necessarily conveying a good or a bad message. It's the manner in which the message is conveyed, right?
Okay.
Maintaining mutual respect for the other person and having to have the tough conversations, because it's not a bed of roses all the time, right? That's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is I generally care about staff development. You have to adhere to a philosophy that you need your people more than they need you. Hands down, that's it. So where applicable, where it's relevant, I like to invest within budget, within reason, in my staff to ensure that they have the skills and capabilities to do the job that I'm asking of them. And number 3 is kind of old school in this sense, that to be a good leader, you have to lead by example. So it's kind of a do as I do, not a do as I say type of arrangement.
So let me ask you this. With how many years you have been at Millennium, if you could have done something differently that would have set you up for success, what would have been that thing that mistake that you made that you would correct it in hopes that it might have brought you a little bit further? That's a big one.
I mean, really, is it one thing? I still think today, generally speaking, just patience. Just having patience. Like me, I'm very competitive by nature. I just like to go, go, go. And when I have certain tasks on my plate, I just like to kind of knock them off and move on to the next. And sometimes as we get bigger, as our organization has over the last 4 or 5 years, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, things tend to move a little slower. So we're not as nimble as we used to be. We need to continue to be nimble, but we're not as nimble as we used to be. So for me, I feel like my patience gets tried a lot, and I just feel like if I can take a breath from time to time, I think that would be good for me. So, but I don't think there's one defining moment. I just think in time, situational, if I could be a little bit more patient in the past as well as the present and future, I think would be a good thing for me. That's advice that I would give myself.
Look at that. So I have a really tough question for you now.
Those first 3 weren't tough?
No, this one's the real tough one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh boy. Let me take a sip first. Though.
Yes, please take a sip. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
What is the best movie quote of all time?
Oh. That is a tough question. Well, listen, I'm a big movie buff guy, you know that. I love to throw out random quotes from time to time where people like stare at me like they think I'm weird.
No, you don't say.
Like somebody will say something and then I'll just randomly quote a movie and they'll kind of look at me like, my favorite genre of movie is fantasy, and there's just so many good quotes in Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. But listen, this is North Jersey, so if I didn't quote something, from a mob or mafia movie, I'd probably be disowned from being a New Jersey resident. I'd probably say the original Godfather, when Vito Corleone goes, I make him an offer he can't refuse. That's probably one. And number two is when Fat Clemenza, they just kill a guy and he goes, leave the gun, grab the cannoli. That's probably the other one. Yeah, so
I like those.
Yeah, I'd probably say those two. But those are classics, and if you haven't seen them, you have to see them. But like I said, I feel it's an indigenous quote to to our territory. So I feel like I have to represent North Jersey.
I like it.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So there's a lot of good ones. There's so many good ones. I can't even. We could probably sit here and have a whole coffee talk on movie
I
quotes.
know you can.
Yeah, we could.
I know he can.
You picked a genre, you picked a movie, and I'll spit out some random quotes to you. Probably most of them will come from movies in the 90s, right? Because they say that we get stuck in our generation with movies, with music, with a lot of different things. So I find myself from time to time watching a lot of the same movies that were based in the 90s. So.
I'm okay with that.
You okay with that?
I like movies from the 90s.
Good. That's how you kind of, you watch that stuff, it helps you combat that generational gap we were talking about,
That we don't
Trying
have.
to understand what it's like to be a Gen X guy, right?
That we don't
What are you
have.
Gen Z? When were you born? Can I ask you that? Can I ask her that? When was she born? No, I can't ask you that? Okay, never mind. Maybe offshoot we can talk a little bit more. Okay, over some coffee.
Perfect. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today, guys. Make sure to go ahead and check us out on Instagram and Facebook as we ask Matt some really funny questions. Anything else left to say?
Bleep, 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 bleep. That's all, folks.